if PII is true, then you can say, well, it seems that in that domain we don't need to add in the identity and diversity facts separately. They're already there just in virtue of the other facts being there, right? So in particular, that this snowflake is not identical to that snowflake, I don't need to add that as an extra fact. It's already entailed by the fact that PII is true and they have different properties. So what we're really talking about then is whether identity and diversity relations, which is going to do surrogate for talk of individuation, if you're suspicious of that talk, whether those kinds of relations are somehow reducible or supervenient, right, where I've now used reducible and supervenient instead of in virtue of, to qualitative properties and relations, where qualitative means what? Right? Where qualitative means, why did that happen, do you know? Where qualitative means, well, the ones that don't involve identity and diversity, of course. Now, I think the reason why we care about this is you can make sense of it in terms of empiricism. Okay, you might think, if you're an empiricist, you might think, look, what I have access to in experience are qualitative facts about the world. I would like it if the identity and diversity facts about the individuals in the world were not anything over and above those empirically accessible facts. Then I would have shown that there isn't some empirically inaccessible realm of identity facts, that the identity facts are just there already and I have empirical access to them. Now that's problematic. It's problematic because if you believe in direct reference, for example, you might think that I can have empirical access to something non-qualitative. Okay? So somehow I see Adam and I have empirical access to Adam. He's a content of my thought, and that's a non-qualitative feature of my thought. So, I mean, I don't think it's remotely clear what qualitative means, but everyone uses it, right? So, so let's just see how far we get with an intuitive idea. Okay, the qualitative facts are the facts that don't include the identity and diversity facts, and we're only interested in PII if the scope of the quantifier is restricted to qualitative facts, because PII is trivially satisfied otherwise, right? Because if we allow facts like being that particular snowflake, then of course, if that's a property, then, well, of course, every snowflake has a different set of properties to every other snowflake, right? Because every snowflake's got a different hexiety property like that. So we have to restrict the quantifier. We ask, is PII true? When I restrict myself to considering the facts or the properties which don't include identity properties. Okay. So the idea is, when you talk about giving a principle of individuation, you can say, if PII is true, then I can believe the bundle theory of individuals. I can believe that an individual is nothing more than a set of properties and relations. I don't need to appeal to some transcendent kind of individuality. Of course, there are lots of kinds of transcendent individuality, and these are the kinds of things you don't have to appeal to if PII is true, right? Here we talk about hexity. So the hexity is a property that so it's probably going to be something like the hexity of A will be defined to be a property such that for all x, if x has property A, then x is A. Sorry, if x has the hexity, then it is A. Other people talk about, Adams talks about primitive thisness, people talk about transcendental individuality, bare particularity, substances, substratum, self-individuating element. Okay. Now, one big and important question is how these ideas of transcendent individuality relate to hexity? Let's just use the term hexity from now on. How does that relate to the idea of hexitism, which is about worlds differing solo numero? That's important in relation to physics because it seems like it's the arguments that put pressure on transcendent individuation in physics have to do with the not counting worlds that differ by the permutation of things, but not otherwise, as distinct. Okay, so we don't count quantum states that differ only by the permutation of particles, identical particles, as distinct states. We don't count, or the argument is, I shouldn't count models of space-time and general relativity that differ only by diffeomorphism as describing distinct possible worlds.